My name is Kalyan, and I generate over 8 figures annually. How do I do this? Well, I am the owner of Gold Star Premier Properties, the owner of Gold Star Floors. I also fix and flip real estate, and I am also a real estate developer. But what I don't like to do is brag. I like to work. That's why they call me the Silent Mogul. Today we have an amazing guest with us. He runs the largest real estate training company on Long Island. He is considered and oftentimes called the godfather of real estate. Today we have JB Bolveden. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing well. Thanks for having me, Kevin. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. So tell me, JB, what's new?
What's new? Everything is new, Kevin. Right now we're in the process of putting together probably the largest, most inspiring, best entrepreneur conference coming this September. So me and my entire team has been pounding the pavement, making it happen.
Yeah, I see you're everywhere. You're on social media, you're on every different powerful platform there is, YouTube. I mean, you're all over the place right now in terms of real estate. But tell me, what are some things that you've noticed in the industry this year?
Well, I mean, we've seen a lot of things happen in the last 12 months. We saw first, when COVID first happened, a big contraction that was temporary for a couple of weeks. And now we're seeing the exact opposite. A lot of people trying to buy a house. You have hedge funds buying, each individual hedge fund buying about $150 to $250 million worth of single family homes per week. So this is probably the most aggressive market and inflated market we've ever seen in purchasing power.
I've read about that hedge fund aspect of real estate, and what do you think that's going to lead us in the next 5 years by hedge funds purchasing all these properties? How will it affect the real estate market?
Well, I think it's going to affect a lot of people, and a lot of people are not aware of what's really going on. The hedge funds are intentionally buying single-family real estate because what they want is they want to create a portfolio of rental assets. And they're intentionally overbidding and paying top dollar for these homes because they have no intention of ever selling them ever again, most likely. And the reason why they're paying so much money is because that'll create high comps to the point where the average person just can't afford to buy it.
Okay.
So we're going to see that probably 10 years from now. Owning real estate, owning a home is going to be considered a luxury that only the rich can afford, and that's going to be intentional. And rent is going to be very high too. There's something called a shared economy. I don't know if you've heard of that yet, but shared economy is basically this new concept that's been really, from the G7 meetings and all these other countries that are part of the G7, and now in the U.S. there's a big move to do what's called a shared economy, which is essentially you don't own it anymore, you rent. 70% of car leases are 70% of cars that are sold are leases, and you're going to see that 70% of real estate transactions 10 years from now will also be leases. Ownership is going to become a thing of the past. It's become very expensive, and I think people should really take notice of that because this inflation, money-wise, also buying power-wise, is not going to change. And if you're thinking about buying a house, you hear from realtors all the time, now is the best time, now is the best time. Without the BS,
yeah.
Now is the best time before it's too late.
Coming from a realtor, I do feel that right now is the best time to buy because interest rates are at a historic low.
Yeah.
With that being said, there's an extreme amount of demand for real estate.
Yeah.
And what I've noticed is that a lot of people are not getting their offers accepted. So in your opinion, what do you think the agents are doing wrong?
Well, the agents are making the common mistakes, and here's what the common mistakes are. They're trying to negotiate a deal instead of sell their client. So back in the day when you represented a buyer, your buyer would be buying a property and you would have a little bit of leverage or ability to present an offer. Now it's not like that. Now you have an audition. Why should I choose you out of all the other talent in this room that's going to sing today? So they're doing things that create extra stress and burden. Like if a listing agent has 20, 30, 40 offers and you ask them for an offer acknowledgement form, they're going to remember you as someone who's difficult and they're going to work with someone else.
Yeah, I hate that. That offer acknowledgement form, for me, it just creates unnecessary paperwork.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be submitting an offer to me, and if you're checking my credentials, you should know that I'm a reputable agent. That in itself should speak for itself, that if you do present an offer to me, you should feel comfortable that I will present that to the seller, just as a professional.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that by submitting an offer acknowledgement form, it's in the best interest of getting your offer accepted. I just think that it really pisses off a lot of agents, and I am one of those agents.
It does, and it won't. You can't enforce the deal to be accepted.
Correct.
And the problem is that you really can't prove too much wrongdoing either. Mm-hmm. So there are unethical listing agents out there that don't present offers, but proving it is very difficult because those agents don't go and get them to sign it. They probably sign it themselves, and What I'm trying to say here is that it's very difficult to get an offer accepted without being on board with an agent, whether it's illegal or not. So I think what I would explain to someone is that when you're trying to bid on a property, first things first is you have to work with your clients and coach them on how to get a property's offer accepted. So what do I mean by that? Normally, if you want to buy something, would you tell the seller that, oh my God, I love it, it means everything to me? Probably not.
No.
Why wouldn't you?
Because you're putting yourself behind the 8 ball in terms of that seller is going to feel like you have a high interest in purchasing it, and they're going to try to play hardball with you in terms of negotiating price points.
Yes, and every single time in the history of man, except for this moment, that advice is right. I think the biggest problem is that now actually doing that is going to create a scenario where your offer is less likely to be accepted. And here's why. Imagine someone walks through a house with their family, they just look around, they're like, oh, okay. And then they go, thank you, and they leave later. Then someone else comes into the home and they're like, wow, I love this house. You designed it so amazing. By the way, this is my wife and these are my kids, and we've been looking for a couple months, and this is like, it just meets all of our needs, and whoa, where are you guys moving to? And they build rapport and they exchange names. Now let me ask you something. If you were the seller and you received an offer from that guy and you received an offer from the guy that just looked around and said thanks and bye, who do you believe is more serious about your home?
I would choose the person that showed the most emotion.
Right. For a few reasons. One is that they're serious.
Of course.
And two is that they're more likely to do it, and probably you like them too. But so they built rapport. So the first things first for buyer's agents is teach your clients to build rapport with the sellers, no matter what. Because if you end up bidding, you want that seller to remember your name, and you want them. When you walk out the door, they're hoping that you actually buy it. Because a home is an emotional thing, so for them to hand it over to someone else that they like or a family that they like means a lot to a lot of people. That's step one, which most realtors bypass.
Okay.
Step two would be is when you present an offer, you have to be really direct in your approach. You have to basically front load, be fully transparent without compromising your situation. So that would mean is that when you call an agent, say, first thing you want to do is acknowledge the agent. So if you're a listing agent, hey Kevin, it's JB from ABC Realty. First and foremost, I really want to thank you for accommodating us and allowing us to see One Apple Street so quickly. In this market, how crazy it is, it's very difficult to find professional agents that run their business like that, and for that, I really appreciate it.
That goes a long way. I mean, if somebody did that for one of my listings, I would always remember them in the back of my head.
Yeah, so that's a great start to get started with. You want to acknowledge that, because right now, everyone's calling you, is this your deal? Is it double-ended? I want to offer acknowledgement form. My guy's got good credit, and you don't want to hear that. That's what you've been hearing. So first thing is you finally get acknowledged for allowing access to the property so quickly. Next is, all right, Kevin, so I got good news and good news. Which one do you want to hear first?
The good news.
Great. Good news is my clients love your house. They love it, and they want it, and they want to buy it. The better news, the other good news is that this is going to be the easiest transaction of your life, because me as a buyer's agent, my responsibility is to do all the work, not you. And I think a lot of buyer's agents drop the ball on that.
I agree.
So here's what I want you to know. Before we talk about the numbers, which we will in just a moment, when you accept our offer, I want you to know that I'm going to be doing everything. If something needs to be run to the town, a permit needs to be picked up, moving the contracts along, arranging all the appointments, I'm only going to need you for 3 things: scheduling the inspection, scheduling the appraisal, and scheduling the final walkthrough. I will take care of everything else. It will be the smoothest transaction of your life. From this moment on, we're partners, and my job is to do my job and get the buyer to close. You've already done a great job in getting this home marketed.
Those are some valuable tips. I'm about to take some notes right now. Hold on. Let me write this down.
So then I would say, all right, Kevin, so here's our offer. Here's what we want to do. Essentially, first I would get a gauge. So what I want to do is I want to discuss it verbally with you, because my clients are very serious. They don't want to go back and forth. They want to give you what you want. See, it's called the transparency without compromising.
Okay.
If we know that 10 plus people are going to bid on this house too, we know it's going over asking. We know the terms will probably be either an appraisal contingency waiver or maybe even a mortgage waiver, where there's no mortgage contingency. So instead of us playing these false games, we're looking at it from a realistic point of view. So Kevin, where we want to be at is we want to give you what you want for the property.
Okay.
That being said, let me ask you something. Is that good enough?
Based off everything that we discussed, I would say yes. But at the end of the day, I do not make the decision. It would be solely up to the discretion of my clients. So what I will do is I will take your offer, I will present it, but I will also push for you because of your professionalism.
I really appreciate that. And just curious, other than price, what else is important to your clients? Do they need a lot of time to transition? Do they want to close fast, or do they still need to find the home?
They're basically motivated by time. So what I mean by that is they want somebody that can close the transaction in 30 days or less, so that way they can move on to their next adventure. And also somebody that's not going to play games, because right now, and I'm telling you this in full disclosure, they've been through this rodeo already.
Sure.
And they did choose an offer previously. And that offer honestly came with an agent that was very professional, but the lender was somebody who did not do their job professionally and pre-approved this client without fully vetting them. So it came to a point where their mortgage was denied, and we had to go through this whole rodeo again.
Wow.
So they do not want to go through that process again, and I'm hoping that with your offer, you've done your due diligence and vetted your clients and vetted your client's lender.
I certainly have, and here's what I want to do. I'm going to send you the offer. In addition to that, we're gonna send it with the emphasis on a fast close. I'm going to have the lender reach out to you, and the lender's happy to speak to the homeowners too if that's what you would like. And finally, I know that you can't guarantee that we can get this deal, and I would never expect that from you, but I will ask you for one favor if that's okay. Can I ask you for a favor?
Well, sure, what is it?
I'd like to get the last word.
Okay.
So if you can come to us and give us the last word, we're very happy to pay the premium that you, your client, deserve for the property. We just want to give you what you want, and I know it's hard to tell what you want with all these offers coming in. So would it be all right if we got the last word?
I think that's more than fair.
I appreciate that, Kevin. If there's anything you need from me, you let me know. Other than that, I'm going to shoot you a text with all my information again. I'm going to send you a video so you have a face to the name, and I really look forward to working with you.
JB, buddy, and let me tell you, those are some golden nuggets there. And honestly, if I do come across a buyer's agent that did present a deal to me like that, I would do whatever I could do to push their deal. And I feel like a lot of agents drop the ball because they don't try to build those relationships with their colleagues.
Nope.
I mean, we are in an industry that's a relationship-based business, but what does that mean? It's not only between you and your client, it's also between you and your colleagues. And there's enough pie to go around for everybody to eat. It doesn't always have to be a shark eat shark type of situation.
Yeah.
And by building different relationships with different agents in different markets, you put yourself in a position to do what's best and what's in the best interest of your clients. So I feel like if I could tell a newer agent anything, it would be to build relationships with the agents in your market, but also build relationships with agents that are outside of your market.
Yeah.
Because you never know where a referral is going to come from and who you can refer it out to, and the relationships that you can build and make stronger.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And here's another thing that people don't realize. When you work with a listing agent like that, that listing agent will respect you, want to work with you like you said, but also on the flip side, that listing agent works with buyers too.
Yeah.
So what if you have a listing, when that listing agent brings you a buyer, they're going to come at you the same way that you came at them in that good way, and you're probably going to do a lot more business that way.
Okay, well, speaking of listings, I feel like this is a good transition to my next question, because you do know that we are in a business of listings and we do list to last.
Yeah.
And with everything that's going on with the pandemic, the state of emergency that our governor instilled, you know that cold calling was banned for a long period of time. Only until recently was the state of emergency lifted and agents are allowed to call.
Yeah.
But what are some advice nuggets that you can give to an agent? Would you tell them to still call, and if yes, how should they approach that call?
Well, you're asking for as far as legal advice if they should call during a ban, or you're talking about now that the ban's lifted?
I would say, give me some advice pre-ban.
Well, you're talking about if there's no ban.
Correct.
Well, if there's no ban, you should be cold calling.
Okay.
I mean, because that's the fastest way to get in communication with someone. It may not be the most effective. People say cold calling is dead. It's not dead. It's dying, and it's dying very slowly. So that means that maybe the amount of effort you did cold calling this year that could have generated $600,000 15 years ago would only generate $380,000. Does that mean you shouldn't do it?
No, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like even though it generates less money than it did, doesn't mean it's not profitable.
Okay.
So I think it's kind of like gas, right? Like when you look at like fuel, like with all the electric cars coming out, there's obviously a shift towards electric. So fuel is dying. Does that mean it's dead? Does that mean it's not profitable? Not even close. So people think about that like cold calling. So one of the biggest mistakes that an agent makes is they think cold calling doesn't work, which is totally not true. It's 100% false. And the second piece is that they believe that There's better ways to do it, and there might be.
Okay.
But branding takes time, and it takes money. And usually the time people don't want to invest and the money they don't have. So for that reason, if you get good at cold calling, that means you're economically bulletproof, because no matter what happens, you still have the ability to make a call. I'm not getting political, but I will tell you this.
Okay.
If the President of the United States can have all of his social media turned off, you as a realtor, as an individual person, can get your social media turned off one day.
Absolutely.
But I don't believe the technology exists to make someone not able to make a phone call.
I also feel like agents' approach to calling, prospecting, cold calling, however you want to call it, is completely wrong. That's why a lot of agents have a fear of calling, is because they make a phone call, all they're thinking about is getting that person's listing.
Yeah.
But if I was on the other end as a consumer and you're calling me, hi, this is JB from Gold Star Premier Properties. We just sold 123 Banana Street, and we have a lot of buyers in the area, and we want to know if you had an interest of selling, I would hang up on you.
Mm-hmm.
I do not, first of all, I don't know you. Second of all, you're asking me to sell my house, which I have no interest of selling,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't even try to build a relationship with me or build rapport with me. I think that what a lot of agents drop the ball on is they do not build rapport with the person on the other end of the phone. Coming from a place of value, coming from a place of service. You cannot lead monetarily. You have to lead coming from a place of service and value. Do you agree with that?
I do, but I also want to clarify, because I don't want someone to misinterpret it, because the person right now on the other side of the camera that's like clapping for what you just said, most of them that are clapping are not saying that because they believe that. It's because they don't like being salespeople. But also at the same time, in the state that we live in, New Yorkers are different. They don't believe that someone, a stranger coming at them with good intentions, has good intentions.
Okay.
So if I call them, hey Kevin, it's JB from ABC Realty. How are you doing today? You wouldn't be like, oh, I'm doing well. How are you? You'd be like, oh, what do you want?
Yeah, because
it'd be suspect.
Yeah, realtors have we're stigmatized.
Right.
We're like considered used car salesmen.
Right. So for that reason, sometimes you might be better off coming from a sales approach, because at least they can recognize you and identify you. When you act really nice in the beginning, even though you are nice and you are a good person, you want to build rapport and relationships, they may not trust it because they don't know you enough yet. So if you start as a salesperson, then you can transition to something else, which is like, for example, someone goes, I hate realtors. I always just tell them, me too. That's why I became one, because the bad apples kind of ruined it for everybody.
You try to break the ice. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I feel like you do need to have a sales approach, but I also feel like building the relationship is very important.
It is.
Because at the end of the day, the stronger the relationship is, the stronger the transaction will be.
Sure.
You know, you're gonna go. Real estate is not, a smooth sea. There's gonna be waves throughout the transaction. You're gonna have to deal with pricing issues, commission issues, mortgage issues, appraisal issues, and every time you deal with one of those situations, you're gonna be coming head on with your client.
Yeah.
If there's a good relationship and they're building a foundation with you, those conversations are much easier to have than me just approaching it as you're my client.
Totally. I mean, I agree with that. I think the biggest problem, though, is if we go back to the original question is, why aren't these guys calling?
Yeah.
And the reason why they're not calling is very simple. It's an integrity issue. And before anyone gets offended, I want to define what that means.
Yeah, please do, because I'm curious to know.
Okay, so if let's say when you walk outside, if you walk outside my office, and let's say you saw this homeless guy on the street, right? He was like totally degraded, like his face is dirty, he's real ripped up, smells bad, and he goes, "You're a bum." To you, would you be upset?
No.
Why is that?
Because I'm confident in who I am, and I know I'm not a bum.
Exactly. So the thing is that when people are criticized and they know that they're not, they never get upset. They only get upset when they're criticized and they know that they are, or they feel like they are. So everyone is afraid of cold calling. If a bum called them a bum, wouldn't feel bad. But when someone curses them out, yells at them, or criticizes them on the phone, they believe that themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's why they have no confront on it. So they start to think that there's things that they need to say in order to be good at cold calling, but that's not true. It'll never work. Scripts cannot make you a better cold caller unless your integrity's in.
Absolutely.
Because you can't believe people that can take rejection really well, which is really important. Like, so I'm starting something called Tilbury University. And Tilbury University has a full virtual training platform that literally shows you how to master the cold call. But the first step of mastering the cold call, we don't talk about calling at all. There's no script in the first part.
Okay.
The first part is getting your integrity in to build your confidence up, to be what you're supposed to be. So when you get rejected, you don't believe the crap that they're telling you because you know it's not true. That's what will make you pick up the phone again. So we go through a whole confidence building exercise part that's not done in one day. It takes about a week to complete, and you can't cheat. So I'll give you a few of those things. Like one is a no negativity clock. For 24 hours, they can't think a negative thought. If they do, they have to restart the clock to another 24 hours. Until they can complete that, the mission's not done. Another piece will be not looking at price when they buy. What does that mean? I'm not telling them to go out and buy a Rolex or a Rolls Royce. What I'm telling them is that when you go grocery shopping, don't look at the price, just get what you want. When you need gas in your car, don't drive the extra mile, go to that station that's 20 cents a gallon cheaper, just pull into the first one. So the money that you're already gonna spend, don't look at the price.
Okay.
Why? Because it requires having this. You gotta put out to get back in. And a lot of people don't realize that. So we go through a whole drill and process to restore integrity in a person. A lot of people are doing things that they don't want other people to know about what they're doing. And it can be a very small thing or it can be a major scandal. It's all based off how you feel, not how others feel. That needs to stop. They start putting these integrity factors in. There's about 13 steps. Once we do those 13 steps and successfully complete that, they now are confident in their ability to do things. Now when we give them a script, what takes normally 1 year for someone to develop, in about 2 weeks they will master because their integrity is in. So when they hear someone yell at them, they understand why they're yelling, but it doesn't affect them. They don't go affect to that. If someone were to criticize them, it doesn't bother them because they don't believe that criticism. But when you agree with it and believe it, that's why you become it.
You achieve it.
Yeah. So the thing is that that's the biggest piece now. We want people to understand and get their integrity in. So when they call people, it doesn't affect them when they get rejected. Because criticism only affects you if you believe it's true.
So you're a strong believer that cold calling is not dead.
Not even close to dead.
Okay.
It's alive and well.
So, touching on that topic, what are some new industry trends that you've noticed?
As far as like realtors building their business, or
Yes.
Okay.
Because you know, building a business is very hard, especially after
Sure.
the pandemic.
Sure. I mean, well, the real estate market's huge.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's hard for people even with deals to go convert them because they're using old tactics. You know, it's kind of like the companies that didn't embrace the internet when it first came out. They thought the internet was a fad.
Yeah.
By the time they realized it wasn't a fad, it was too late, and on top of that, they were so far behind, they went out of business. So a personal brand is going to be more important than ever. Personal brand is going to be the biggest thing that anyone will have, even if they're not in real estate. And I think they have to start implementing that now in their business. And they don't need to overthink it and get a logo or anything else. They need to start just creating what brand basically means. When you think of me, you think of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that it has to be catchy. Like Geico. What do you think of when I say Geico?
Insurance.
Insurance, right? Especially car insurance.
For sure.
Geico stands for Government Employee Insurance Company. Right?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have Geico.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we're not government employees.
No.
So the thing is that when you think of the name or the logo, one is it has nothing to do with insurance. Two, if they called themselves Government Employee Insurance Company, you probably wouldn't even ask them to quote you because you'd be like, I don't qualify.
Yeah.
Geico just wanted to be synonymous with car insurance, and that's what they were able to accomplish. American Express, what the hell does that have to do with the credit card? When you really think about the name, right?
Yeah.
Like, I would think it's a shipping company. I would think it's like FedEx or UPS if you just think about it, but everyone knows American Express is a credit card. Essentially what a brand is it makes it synonymous with something else. It doesn't mean that it has to be catchy or really, really cute or anything.
Yeah.
So when people sell real estate, they need to make sure that their branding is synonymous. When you think of their name, they need to be synonymous with real estate. And the way they do that is not by posting ads with their arms crossed like this, looking into the camera and going, well, if you ever think about buying or selling real estate, give me a call. Doesn't work.
It's too generic.
Yeah, and on top of that too, when you watch television, do you want to watch a station that only shows commercials?
Nope.
No. In fact, commercials suck so much that they have to pay other people to embed it into things people do watch to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, if you notice, Netflix does not have no commercials. And
Right.
It's the number one streaming service there is.
That's right. So what do I mean by that? So can commercials be entertaining? Sure they can, but the reality is that commercials are unwanted most of the time. So your social media is a brand, and your social media, you have to broadcast things that are entertaining, but at the same time make it synonymous with what you do for a living, and that's what branding is. All the successful brands have done that.
What I feel, in my opinion, is that agents mix up branding and marketing.
Yes.
they're two completely separate things.
Yeah.
You know, branding is building you and who you are and what you stand for. Marketing is what brings in the business and brings in the money.
Yeah.
You can brand yourself and you can market yourself, but you know, you have to treat it as such. Some people are just marketing and they're thinking that they're branding themselves, but they're not. Some people are branding themselves, but they're doing no marketing and there's no business coming
That's right.
in. So that's where I feel like if I could tell an agent, you know, what to do, especially if they're working for, you know, one of these industries, focus on building you as the brand, because you are the brand.
That's right.
You are the one that's calling the prospect, listing the house, getting the buyer, getting the deal done. It's really you that's behind the scenes, and you should be promoting yourself, and you should be marketing yourself in order to get the new business coming into you.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Very well said. And I think everyone listening should really take advice on that, because that's really going to be if they start doing both of those really well, their business will expand.
It'll blow up.
Yeah.
I mean, JB, you know, you and I have a long history together, and we've developed a great friendship, and I value your opinion. And what I want to ask you is, like, throughout the pandemic and COVID and everything and everyone that was affected, what do you think was the biggest problem that came out of the pandemic?
Professional excuse making. I've never seen so much bullshit in my entire life.
Please expand. I would love to hear that.
Yeah, so I mean, at this point, almost everyone in business or everything is just blamed on COVID. Every shortage, every inconvenience is blamed on COVID, and that's total bullshit. Here's what I mean by that. The reality is that all COVID did was make it a breeding ground for people that continue to work to be able to be very wealthy right now, and everyone else is starting to get back to work now. And I think, let me get specific in what I'm saying, from supply lines to customer service to goods that are being sold, there's an intentional increase in price or intentional decrease in services delivered because of the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed that firsthand, not to cut you, but I noticed that firsthand because I also run a construction/flooring business.
Yeah.
And with the shortage of labor, it has caused a delay on the materials, which has caused the material prices to surge.
Yeah.
So the cost for wood right now is through the roof. You can tell that just by plywood. Plywood used to be $20, $22 a sheet. Now it's over $70, $80 a sheet.
Yeah.
Studs 2x4s used to be $1, a foot. Now it's $10 a foot.
Yeah.
So the average consumer who's looking to do a renovation in their house, where they were budgeting for a $5,000 renovation, by the increase in the labor costs, it now costs double or sometimes even triple to do that same renovation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that in itself is a direct result of the pandemic.
So here's what's going to happen. I know New York State's paying over $100 million a week in unemployment. And what they're going to do is, to make up for that, they're going to start raising taxes and writing a lot of citations and tickets for everything. So essentially, the people that work are constantly being the ones suppressed.
Yeah.
And the changes that I've seen is that we're seeing a society where the majority of people don't want to take full responsibility for their situation, and they want to blame. And the labor shortages, even to the pricing, we're seeing issues across the board. For example, there's some manufacturers out there that are just seeing a trend, so they're raising the price on their clientele. We're seeing people in the construction industry, some of them really raise their prices significantly even for their labor. Not all of them, some of them. For those grabbing what they can now, realtors that are basically lazy and just kind of trying to put a house together and just list it, and they think that they're doing so well. There's a lot of people just surfing.
Yeah.
They think that they're doing better, but they're just surfing.
There's a lot of false advertising out there. Guys that are doing like one deal a year, promoting themselves like they're doing, tons of transactions.
Sure.
So there's a lot of showboating out there.
So here's what we're going to see. The reality is that a lot of these major supply companies, hedge funds and other asset managers own or have stakes in those companies too.
Okay.
Part of inflation games are to create scenarios where even renovating your house is too expensive, you're better off selling it. I predict that what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of people. We're going to see two classes of people: the hardworking ones, and then other people become more dependent. And when that happens, the people that are either riding a wave and not scaling their business appropriately, or the ones making excuses when the economy makes a correction when it will, they will be punished. Not by an individual, but by the actual economy. The interesting thing about money is money doesn't have feelings.
Absolutely not.
Has no feelings at all. It could care less what's going on or how righteous or wrong something is. It just cares about the flow. And if you're not creating a good business plan and really expanding and taking the extra money that you're doing and using that to expand your business right now, you're going to be punished. And I think the biggest problem is that a lot of people, when you ask them, why aren't you expanding your business? Why aren't you working harder? Or why are you raising your price so much? We hear a lot of excuses. And I believe that a majority of people are just, for lack of better terms, they're full of crap on it.
I
and
agree.
we're going to see a big shift down the road. That'll affect them.
I see it all around because I'm in various different industries.
Yeah.
I'm in the real estate sector, I'm in the finance sector, I'm in the construction sector. So I see it in various different ways, and believe it or not, it's a trickling effect. Regardless of what industry you're in, you're seeing the results of the pandemic, whether it be positive or negative.
Yeah.
So it's how you handle that and how you thrive from that is going to really determine how your future goes.
Absolutely.
But
we haven't seen the wages go up with all the increase in price.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous.
And two things I don't like to talk about is politics and religion, but in this case, I do feel that our government, they kind of screwed this one up a little bit, and what I mean by that is that there's a lot of people who choose not to work and collect, that weekly, unemployment check that they're getting from the government, which forces the boss, like the construction guys, the construction companies, to now have to inflate prices because now the guys that do want to work, they see that, okay, Joe's staying home, he'd rather collect, $300 a week and not show up to work, but I'm showing up to work and I'm showing a loyalty to my company. Now you have to incentivize that guy and raise his pay, which raises your labor costs, which now you have to either eat it or pass it on to the consumer.
Yeah.
So with the cost of labor increasing and then the cost of material increasing, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do? You're kind of at a crossroad.
Well, I mean, you sit back and wait for the that hard stop to happen because and that's what's going to happen. I know that there's 7 states, if not more, right now that's rejecting federal pandemic unemployment assistance, which means that extra $300 a week they're rejecting.
They're rejecting, yeah.
And because they're trying to force people to go back to work. Because let me tell you something. There's a few things I want a lot of people to get understanding on.
Okay.
I know a lot of people were criticizing companies and individuals for laying people off when the pandemic started. Have you see that when people are like, oh, you heard about this layoff, and they would criticize them?
I've seen that.
Just to make it very clear, every single person in America laid people off.
Yeah.
But here's what I mean by that. I want to clarify one thing. I don't mean businesses. If when the pandemic happened, you canceled a bunch of subscriptions and you stopped buying stuff and you stopped eating out, you laid people off.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree to that aspect. Where I would disagree is that my background and you have good knowledge about my businesses, and like Gold Star Floors, I employ 20 individuals, right? Throughout the pandemic, I did not lay off or furlough not one of them.
Right.
And you and I had different, we had different meetings, lunch, whatever. And part of my stress was the stress of my employees because no matter if I was not working or jobs weren't coming in, I had 20 guys to make sure that I had to pay them at the end of the week because they had families to feed, and I needed to make sure that they were taken care of.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of sacrificed a lot during the pandemic period to make sure my 20 guys were taken care of. And their loyalty shows because now things are kind of crazy now. we're working nonstop. But not every industry cut their employers or employees.
Yeah, that's true. So when we're talking about just from a business perspective, I agree with you. There were a lot of people that held people on. And then also, but when I'm talking about from the consumers, the people out there that didn't have employees, they don't really realize that they're the ones laying them off.
Yeah.
It's not the company, right? When the consumer stops spending, the company has to lay them off. But I want to commend you, because what you did was, I know you used a lot of personal assets. I hope you don't mind me saying it.
Yeah, no.
You used your personal money to float them for quite some time.
Yeah.
And every time we spoke, getting rid of anyone and furloughing them was never a conversation. It was just like, all right, well, we're going to keep making it work and keep making it work. So I commend you for that, because a lot of people didn't do that, and that's a big deal.
I appreciate that. But JB, I mean, listen, I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me, answer these questions, go through this process with me. But one thing that I'm super excited about is the Entrepreneur Conference. And I know you and I had several conversations, and there's some things that you're keeping on the DL. But can you share something about it?
Sure. So I got some really solid information for people to get excited about. So September 14th is the official date.
Okay, we got a
locked
date.
in. That's not changing.
14th.
September 14th. It's going to be at the Space in Westbury. And we have a big lineup of speakers that are confirmed, and we have some other speakers that are not confirmed yet. But man, you're in for a real treat. We're going to be going over how to build your business, how to market, how to connect with people. A lot of people don't realize your network is your net worth. You're going to get real key skills on how to approach someone, build a rapport, and expand based off of that. You're going to understand how to be able to take rejection the right way, how to be able to build out your brand. And also, you're going to have a lot of people to network with while you're there. VIPs, we put something really special in together for them. VIPs are getting front row seating, backstage access. They're also going to get private lunch that day. They're getting an after party with all the speakers that they're going to go to at a different location. They're going to get a 5-day, 4-night Cancun vacation voucher.
Wow.
So that's going to include hotel and meals for them that they have up to 1 year to redeem. And in addition to that, we're also raffling off a brand new BMW that everyone who buys tickets is going to get featured in. But VIPs get 5 entries into it.
Oh, wow.
Per person. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of cool stuff, a lot of giveaways, a new BMW being one of them. But what we want to do is we want everyone to grow, because my goal is to create 1 million millionaires. And good people are hard to find.
For sure.
So I wanted to create this type of event where basically I could put 1,000+ people in one place at one time that I know are all good. We can all help each other grow and make this world a better place through our success.
Hey man, hats off to you. I'm super excited to attend this conference. So where can I get my ticket?
You can get your ticket at entrepreneurconference.live, or if you want special pricing, you can actually text my cell.
Okay, what's that number?
Oh man, when I give it out, it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem. So what we could do is we could actually, I'm gonna give you a Q cell.
We'll put a hold on that for right now, but
we're gonna put a number on the screen. So what you can do is you could text the number on the screen, say I'm ready to win.
Okay.
And text I'm ready to win that number that's gonna be on your screen, and then from there we'll hook you up with special pricing that's not even advertised. It's only for a limited time. We're gonna do a webinar soon, and after that webinar, we're raising the prices because we're already halfway sold out, thankfully. So it's definitely somewhere you want to be. And look, with history, you can either read about it or you can be a part of it.
Absolutely. And listen, guys, this conference is something you do not want to miss. I want to thank my friend JB for sitting here and being a part of this podcast. Check back with me next week. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Take care, guys.